Um, so we are super duper excited. This meeting will be recorded, archived, and then ultimately uploaded to our YouTube channel for future use. So if there is anyone in the community, obviously, that is looking to connect with veteran resources, whether it be they're starting a business or they've been in business for decades, these are still all applicable and very, very useful. So with that, I want to start by thanking the sponsors of our wonderful organization. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and that is Pechanga, Julie No State Farm, Elsinore Valley Municipal Water District, Anderson Chevrolet, Temecula Valley Hospital, and Polito Cleaning and Restoration. So thank you so much for them. Now, without further ado, it is now my honor to introduce a veteran business owner and our facilitator today. Marc Sigmon retired from the Navy after a 20-year career and immediately entered into the business sector. He immediately became involved with the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, where he serves as a member of the Defense, Veterans, and Military Affairs Committee. He has also joined the Fallbrook and Murrieta-Wildomar Chambers of Commerce. He was named the 2017 Ambassador of the Year in Fallbrook. Earlier this year, he was selected as the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors California San Diego affiliate leader. Throughout his industry and veteran community, Marc has established himself as a resource to help others. His passion is palpable for helping others and drives his agency and his approach to everything he does. Mr. Marc Sigmon, good morning to you. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Mike. Thank you for having me. And I just want to welcome everyone, especially our panelists. I've been looking forward to this ever since I was honored enough to be asked. So let's meet our panelists today, Mike.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start and introduce our first panelist. She is new to her role. And that is Keli Anthis, Director of SoCal Veterans Business Outreach Center, or SoCal VBOC. Keli, good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you so much for hosting this event today and for allowing me to join you today. Yes, I am new to the role as director, but prior to the position as director, I was associate director for a little over a year and a half. As a matter of fact, I started the very first week in March, right after the pandemic. And so just like we have asked our veteran business owners to do, we have pivoted our services. So currently we are presenting from our home offices, but in normal times, I don't know what's normal anymore, but we are located in Carlsbad, California. And just a little information, do you want me to give some information about the VBOC now, or just a little information about myself?
A little bit of both, please.
Great. Okay. Well, let's start with the VBOC then. I mean, that's why we're all here. The VBOC program started in 2005. There are 22 VBOCs across the United States, and I'm happy to share that we are SBA funded, and there has been some new funding, and there are going to be an addition of 13 more VBOCs across the country nationally. So, for our transitioning military and that sort of thing, that's very important because many of them don't stay in the location that we normally begin to serve them with our Boots to Business workshop on the 10 military bases that we serve in Southern California. And as far as our VBOC territory for SoCal, we basically start coastal anyway from San Diego, and we serve all the way up to Santa Barbara. And in fact, in regards to that as well, there may be a centrally located VBOC because we have so many veteran-owned businesses in California and so many military bases. So our primary objective is to deliver Boots to Business curriculum on the 10 military bases, and then I'll share more information about the veteran services that we offer to veteran-owned business. And then for myself, as I mentioned, I started it with the VBOC as a trainer, then I became the associate director, and now I'm the director. And I have a pretty vast background for about the last 20 years in economic development. What else? Oh, I have a background in entrepreneurship, hospitality, and tourism. I was a co-owner of a couple hotel properties in Northern California. So I think that's about everything about me and the VBOC, and I look forward to sharing more information as we continue.
Excellent, Keli. It genuinely is a pleasure to have you here. I know Patrick and I have been very big fans of the VBOC for some time, so it's a true honor to have you here today.
Thank you.
All right, next up, to represent the Rosie Network, which is a fantastic organization in the San Diego market. Please help me welcome Ebeth Goad, chapter lead of the Rosie Network. Good morning, Ebeth.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us. And just to tell you a little bit about the Rosie Network, we provide a free entrepreneurship and mentorship training program for military spouses and veterans. It's a 16-week program that we provide both online and in-class instruction. Currently, due to COVID, we are obviously online. I'm actually in the Northeast, but we're based out of San Diego. And the reason that Rosie came into play was because our founder and CEO, Stephanie Brown, who is just a dynamo, saw a need for having a directory of milspouse and veteran-owned businesses because she needed someone to come into her home to help work on, I believe it was a washing machine that needed to be repaired. So she started this directory called the Rosie's List, which is a free list. And decided at that point that there really wasn't a resource out there for training military spouses and veterans on how to start their own business. So that's how we sort of came together. And I'll be sharing with you a little bit more about the Rosie Network as we go. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm a military spouse, a Navy spouse, and I went through the Rosie Network program, Service to CEO, several years ago. And at that point, it really helped me. I had been in business for about 5 years and was just sort of floundering. And so by going through the program, I really received the support that I needed to make my career a success. And with that, I really wanted to be a part of the Rosie Network and became a chapter lead. So I lead the cohorts that we do. So that's a little bit about myself and Rosie.
Excellent, Ebeth. Thank you so much. We're equally excited to have you here. I've heard tremendously amount of good things about the Rosie Network, including from Mr. Marc Sigmon, who is ultimately the one that had turned me on to you. I know he's been adamantly involved with everything that you do. So thank you so very much. All right. Now, finally, on his it's what we heard his last day with VetFran, but I know it's just an absolutely stellar organization that will always be accessible to you. Please help me welcome Mr. Matt Wiggins, the Associate Manager at the International Franchise Association representing VetFran. Matt, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm really glad to be here. My name is Matt Wiggins. I'm the Associate Manager of the Veterans Affairs at the International Franchise Association based out here in Washington, D.C. The International Franchise Association has been around since the 1960s. We're the largest organization representing the franchise business industry. And we have a program called VetFran, which is in our foundation, which is celebrating its 30th year this year. And VetFran's goal is to connect veterans to franchise opportunities and educational opportunities. So we have about 500 different member franchise brands who offer anywhere from 10 to 100% off of the initial franchise fee. So we make educational content. We connect veterans to those opportunities. As a background for me, I've been with IFA for about 3.5 years. And I've been working on the VetFran program pretty much the entire time. And I travel with them to go to our franchise expos to meet veterans. I do online seminars like this one. The end goal is just to always try and meet veterans where they are to talk about their opportunities within franchising, entrepreneurship, and help them figure out what their next step is going to be. About 14% of franchisees nationwide are veterans, which is way above their proportion within the U.S. population. And franchise brands recognize that veterans make excellent franchisees. So that's why I'm here. That's why the program exists. And looking forward to sharing more with you later in the panel here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Matt. that number is truly staggering. And I'm glad you said something about that, because I sure as heck was going to. I mean, 14% is a very, very palpable number. And it goes to show you that how effective veterans, slot into these franchises. And the best thing about franchises too is that they're scalable. You can start with one and find your way, representing multiple, and you can really build quite a quality of life in that industry there.
Scalable and much easier to come into when you're coming right out of the service or something like that and looking for a business opportunity where you don't have to go build everything from scratch.
It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And frankly, that's why I'm super excited to have you here, because I think franchises are one of those are not always necessarily one of those resources that people actively think about. And I can tell you, it's our day job. Hilda and I work for the Chamber of Commerce, and they're just as much a small business. They just have one heck of a support system behind them. So it's really just a great thing there. So with that, let's jump into the meat of our programming here. I know we have some submitted questions that we have also sent to you guys, and the goal here is really to keep it even and get a chance to hear from everybody at least a little bit, because from the chamber role and now even into the military affairs committee role here, our goal is always to make sure that people are connecting. So we won't be able to answer every question today, but really what this is about above all else is access. So I want to go ahead and hand it over to our facilitator, Mr. Marc Sigmon, to kick us off with our first question. Marc, what's going on?
Hey, Mike, thanks again. And, I just wanted to, before we start with all the panelists, I really can't tell you how much it means. When we transition out of the military, we're drinking from the fire hose. Everybody tells you that, right? And, for us to ease it, because remove some of those obstacles out of the way, I think I'm so excited to share some of this information. So my first question to each of you is that I would like you to share your personal favorite success story. Where either you or your organization has had a direct impact on a veteran or a spouse or their family. So I'll start with you, Ebeth. Oops.
Sorry, I muted myself. We recently had a graduate, Monifa Keynes, who just graduated from the program, and she is doing headgear and has really taken off. She is getting recognized nationally, and was recently in our Me magazine, Military Entrepreneur magazine. So it's really exciting to see a business owner a veteran business owner in particular, who has gone from the ideation phase to full on national recognition for their business.
Thank you. I was actually a participant in that class with her. So I know Monifa, that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, she's a firecracker, that's for sure. Matt, the same question to you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. And mine's a little bit harder because, the way that our program is structured, we don't follow everybody through our process. We're an education-based opportunity, and then we take people and refer them over to franchise brands to have those discussions, because franchising is very much a varied thing. And one thing I'll talk about is, it spans over 300 business lines. There's a lot of different things happening within franchising. So one thing I will say is we've worked with so many people, and for our 30th anniversary, we want to try and tell the stories about franchising. So I'll give you 30 examples, and they'll be coming out in videos on our website here soon, because we have chatted with veterans about what it was like to become a franchisee as a veteran, and how they have, felt that their life has changed because of that. So we met with a couple of franchisees recently, a husband and wife veteran pair. They are franchisees for Tropical Smoothie Cafe, and they are just, loving life, involved in their community. And one of the best things about operating a franchise is that it is a small business. It is owned by you, and you are in that community. And so they've taken that community piece to the next level. The day that we interviewed them, they'd actually both just shaved their heads in honor of childhood cancer awareness. So that's what they were focused on that day for our video shoot. So basically, the stories I can tell are stories of people who have built generational wealth, have created something to put into their family, a business that the family is involved in and are giving back to their communities. And there are countless stories like that on our website that people can see. And I don't have to tell you what business ownership can do for people in terms of making them, changing their lives and taking their careers to the next level. So, you can see from yourself and hear from them what it's meant to them.
Right. Thank you. And then Keli, please.
Well, first off, Mark, I wanted to say I like that you said about by fire hose for transitioning military. And one of the sayings I give when we're presenting our Boots to Businesses, it's entrepreneurship by fire hose. So I thought that was my quote, but I think we're pretty well aligned. That's what it feels like. But so yeah, and thank you for it's not easy to choose, right? Because we have so many great clients and veterans that we work with. But I would say one of them that's near and dear to my heart, and it's going to be featured nationally through our SBA program. And his name is John Bethel. And I met John at 32nd Street at Boots to Business workshop that I was presenting. And he's a chaplain for the Navy. And he was transitioning out, I think, in about 8 months. And his dream was to move to the East Coast. And the same thing as Matthew was saying, we work with a lot of transitioning military in addition to the veteran businesses that we serve in Southern California. So he was transitioning out. He had a dream to move to the East Coast to a little community in Maine, and he wanted to launch a business over there. So we did what we do in the VBOC network is we connected him with the VBOC in his area, with other community providers in his area, other economic development organizations, with chambers, with the city, that sort of thing. And so we worked hand in hand with all the providers on the East Coast. So I'm happy to say that John purchased this adorable little farmhouse that he's renovating, but more importantly, he opened a business in his community, and he opened a frame shop, and then he ended up purchasing a print shop next door. And now we're working with him to access capital to actually purchase the building. And he's very involved in the community. And he's also adapted or just signed an MOU for Skill Bridge program. I'm trying to think of it's escaping me right now. Yeah. He's going to also train veterans in both of his vocations and teach them how to do printing and to do framing. So he's just an all-around great guy, but the most important thing is he's making his dream come true. And this is something he thought about for many years, and he made it happen. And so we're just very proud of him. And he's just a really neat guy that's giving back as well.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I remember about 2 years before I transitioned out, and I had a class over at DeVry where I graduated from, and I remember distinctly I was speaking with her, and I said, I'm scared, with no hesitation. And I think being a little vulnerable as we go through this process, I think that really lends well. So I'm going to kind of frame that about into these next questions. So for you, Keli, you're known for navigating and ultimately winning contracts, but what other program do you feel deserves more attention as for veterans or spouses?
Well, you know what? Again, another great question, but it really depends on the individual. And so we offer workshops, as I mentioned, on the military basis, and then we also do reboot, government contracting, business plans, et cetera. But really where we can help our veterans, transition military or veteran business go forward is the one-on-one consulting. So what we do is an assessment. They come in and, they share with us, this is where I am right now. Because if we have 50 people in a workshop, I can guarantee you all 50 have different strengths, different weaknesses, different credit scores, different, access to capital, et cetera. So sitting down one-on-one, we do the assessment, and we consider ourselves the first point of entry for our veterans, but we are a referral agency, and we send them where they need to go. And more importantly, when we make a referral, we follow up and make sure they receive the services that they need. So there's so many great resources out there. I do ask our veterans, do not sign anything and do not pay for anything until we find out if there's a resource available for you for no cost. And it's not a handout. you have earned this with your service, and we want to make sure that you're taking advantage. And like Matt's saying with VetFran, franchises love veterans, and for all those right reasons, those transferable skills. So I'm not answering your question specifically, but I can say we're SBA funded. We work with the SBA very closely, 3 district offices in our area that now, especially during the pandemic, you call an SBA office and they will pick up the phone, and they will, same thing, probably refer you to us if you're a veteran. But still, there's services out there. We have the Women's Business Center also here in Southern California. We have the Small Business Development Centers and the SCORE, which are retired executives. And then all the other great organizations that you're going to hear about here today.
Well, I hope I put you a little bit at ease, because Matt told me that I'm not supposed to grade anybody. So there's not really a right or a wrong answer here. And to all of our participants, I really want to welcome each and every one of you. So if there's a question that you have for the panelists, we have Mike and Hilda monitoring the chat. So please drop some things in there, raise your hand or things like that. So we want to make sure that that your questions get addressed as well. So going back to Matt, is there an industry sector that you have noticed that veterans tend to thrive in more than others?
I'll start the question by saying all, which is not the right answer, but it is an answer. And that is to say that our research has shown that veterans in the same fields as non-veterans in franchises are outperforming their non-veteran peers in the same brands. So that is to say that veteran franchisees are often more successful in their businesses within the same system than others. So first of all, that means you can be successful in any of these, really, and your veteran skills translate so well to franchising that the data shows performance is strongly up when veterans are in a system. Now, in terms of what veterans are interested in, a lot of the franchises that involve harder skills, things that they picked up in the service, things that are transferable, to military service, whether they were a mechanic or something like that within the military, or an engineer. There are, automotive franchises, home franchises, things like that that are more hands-on, that a lot of people really love to get involved in. However, one thing I'll always say when we do our presentations is, when it comes to franchising, part of the franchise's job is to teach you to do something that you may not be comfortable doing. And so part of being a good franchisee is being receptive to learning and training. So when you sign a franchise agreement, you'll go to training for usually a couple of weeks at the franchise brand's headquarters to learn about that business, which means, and they'll always tell you, you don't have to have any prior experience necessarily in what you're going to do. We've in the past worked with a franchise out here in, I believe in Northern Virginia. It's a husband-wife pair, and they were both veterans, and they weren't sure exactly what they wanted to do. Well, it turns out they now together own a eyelash franchise. After probably thinking that they wanted to do something more hands-on, they'd never had any experience in anything like that. But again, the job of the franchisor is to teach you how to be successful. Their success is your success. We've all heard about what the franchise business model looks like. There are royalties paid for a number of things in exchange, whether it's training resources, materials, innovation in products and things like that. But part of that is also the training. And so you can feel confident going into a business as long as you're comfortable learning about the business. Then you can do it, because it really is anything that you put your mind to. So follow your passion. If there's a franchise that fits your passion, then by all means, but you need not have any prior experience in what you want to go do.
Thank you. And then Ebeth, can you give us a better understanding of the need for programs like Service to CEO and what they mean to the families?
Absolutely. So we do know that 20% of transitioning service members are interested in entrepreneurship. But 50% of military spouses are either current entrepreneurs or interested in entrepreneurship. And part of the reason for this is that they want to contribute to their families. The moving around takes a toll on their career. We need a mobile lifestyle, and we want to support our service members and families. So it's also known that 90% of startups fail. They fail without support and without mentorship. And so Service to CEO, the program that we have, is the only free national award-winning entrepreneurship program that provides a complete curriculum with mentorship and National Alumni Association. So I can talk a little bit about why this was so important to me. For instance, I had been in business, as I mentioned previously, for about 5 years, and I was trying to piecemeal everything. I was trying to learn about social media marketing. How much money do I need to invest in my business? How to put all of these pieces together. And without any sort of direction, I was floundering, and I felt like I was going to have to pay just a boatload of money to really get established and then enter the Rosie Network. So this free program provided a curriculum that gave me the mission and vision that I needed to make sure that my business was a success. It provided information regarding financial literacy, which obviously was a concern of mine. And so as a whole, we help military spouses and veterans achieve that goal of becoming entrepreneurs. And so it's a critical component in helping military families.
Right. Well, thank you. You know, the process, because a lot of the times we always had our standard operating procedures. We always had those type of terminology. We knew we were trained on everything and what to do. And as we start branching out into the entrepreneurial world, I'll kind of focus a little bit about processes and things like that. So Matt, the process to get started with VetFran, you know, because I mean, I think I really want to hone in on the fact that we're out there on our own now. You know, we used to have so much support when we were in the military. We knew where to go. We had all the resources available to us. Now, all of a sudden, we want to be the person in charge. And, you know, that process and some of the key fundamentals that will help some of our aspiring entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And I'll start by saying here something that I think is important, and a couple of the other presenters here have touched on, is that first of all, free services are important because they are available to you. Our service is entirely free. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit. Now, there's a lot of folks in the franchise for veterans space who are not nonprofits, and they're very much motivated by money for leads to try and market franchise opportunities to you. So one of the reasons to start with a nonprofit, you know, be it us or another veterans service organization, we're not motivated by money to provide you with a franchise opportunity. Not to mention, on our website, we vet all of the franchises that we work with on either a 1, 3, or 5-star basis based on qualifications that they've met to market to a veteran. We want to put veterans into smart, safe franchise opportunities. So first of all, that's part of our process, but our process really starts by educating. There's a lot of people who are transitioning who don't know much about franchising beyond what they've experienced in their personal lives. So it can be a complicated business model to understand at first. So we've tried to provide educational opportunities as best we can to get people feeling comfortable with the business model and understanding some of the intricacies. So we've done a video series with some executives of franchise brands to talk about some of the more niche components of getting involved. We want you to feel comfortable. Once you're kind of ready to take that next step, we have to get out of the way because the actual franchise, process takes place between a person and a franchise brand. It's deeply personal. It's about finding out whether the person is a good fit for any particular brand, things like that. So we help connect veterans to the actual opportunities. We have our franchise directory, which lists all 500 of our brands. You can sort them by industry. You can sort them by startup cost. So you can learn more about the options that are available to you. And we tell you what kind of discount or incentive they're offering to veterans. And then you begin the process. You reach out via our website. a franchise development professional from one of those brands will contact you and get an initial kind of feel for what your situation looks like, how much money you're able to spend, what stage you're at in the process. And then oftentimes veterans, after taking that step, will come back to us and they'll say, okay, I've reached out to X, Y, and Z brands. I've received the following feedback. What do I need to do in terms of research? And that's where we may even involve referring them off to a partner organization like VBOC so that they can get in touch with someone from a more localized area so that they can discuss the local and regional business climate, any local funding resources available to them, or lending institutions for SBA loans that specialize in that area. So we try and help them through the process, but at a certain point also, it really is between an interested veteran and the franchise brand. And that's not a bad thing, because their goal is to try and help you either learn more about their brand to the point that you're ready to proceed, or learn more about what you're looking for and point you in the right direction, whether it is with them or not with them. Because again, it's an investment and they want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. So that's the process that we have. We're always available to be a consultant because, there are questions that come up at any time during this. And we have a lot of franchise and industry experts either at VetFran or on the VetFran committee. The leadership committee for our program is 30 industry executives, most of them or many of them veterans. So everybody has a vested interest in success for those who come through our program. And we are, we're available at any time, but we mostly are there to kind of guide you through the process.
Great. We actually have a question from the audience, and one of the things that when we're talking about this is that the funding, and I think that when kind of talking what I'm taking in from you, Matt, because when I first started my business, I want to do everything. Right. I'm going to design my own webpage. I'm going to do everything else like that. And I think that through some of these processes, and then following on when I talked to Ebeth to really talk about your personalities, but the funding part, and really talk to you, Keli, here, because we need to know how much is it really going to cost to let us offload some of those other necessities that we need to get done so that we can focus on what we're really good at. So what are some of the most popular places to get funding? What are some of the most common places to get funding? And what are some of the things to keep in mind if somebody's going to be applying for funding? Keli. Sorry, Keli, did you hear that one? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was busy adding all those things in the chat box.
Yeah.
So I did add in there the SBA lender match. That is a really great opportunity for our veterans to look at. And as you're all saying, this is what we share with our veterans. Do your research in everything you do, whether you're talking about a franchise or whether you're talking about starting your own business or purchasing an existing business. Do your research, and the same thing goes for access to capital. Is do your research on the bank. Don't go in empty-handed. Make sure that you work with us so that we can have a business plan ready for you, et cetera. And some banks don't, some lenders, some funders, some partners, et cetera, like some deals and some don't like others. So that's why, do your research and find out who's lending in your particular industry. Make sure that that's the kind of deal they like, et cetera. And we also have here in San Diego, Main Street Launch. And I thought I put that in the chat box, but I'll add that here next. I say this all the time to our veterans when they come in, I wish I had this big old duffel bag full of money. That's the way it should be. And I just haul it over and put it in front of them and say, here's your money. This is what you've earned, and go start your business. But we know that it doesn't work that way. But as we've been indicating all throughout, this workshop today, is that all those attributes that the transferable skills that veterans have, those are the things that lenders are looking for as well. So I don't know if there's just one organization or one bank or one entity that's the best one for the veterans to go to. As we always say, it depends. It depends on your industry. It depends on your experience. It depends on what kind of skin you have to put in the game. But do your research, take those workshops, meet with your consultant, and go through the process so that when you do look or do approach a potential funder or a lender or investor, et cetera, that you're prepared. So hopefully that answered your question in an indirect way.
No, you're doing fine. Thank you so much. And then finally for Ebeth, when we start talking about that, kind of the 3 steps you'd advise someone, or some of the keys that we need to keep in mind that's really going to focus on the transferable skills that we have as we're thinking about going into entrepreneurship.
Well, I would say probably one of the most actionable steps would be to join a service to CEO chapter. So we know that you should not embark on this journey alone, and that you're an expert on your own business. And so we want to help you to get that out there, and to learn to define what success means to you, because you and no one else is going to be the expert in your business. But also, this was touched on before, but to be open to advice. And so that's one of the things that's great about the Rosie chapters and service to CEO, is that there's networking within the program itself, for peer-to-peer mentoring, as well as from our subject matter experts who so graciously give their time. And then the last thing is to really know your market and your customer. I think a lot of times when you're starting your own business, there's sort of that idea that if you talk to everybody, you're speaking to nobody. So to really know your market, do your research, hold interviews, and have sort of focus groups. So,
yeah. I think that one thing that really helped me, Mike, when he did my introduction, it was really joining the chambers. And then you talk about, getting your circle and building your team. And I think that when Matt, you touched on that thing where it said, keep that overhead low by using free resources. There's nothing wrong with that, because it's just going to help you, and it's going to lead to not being as frustrated because you're trying to make ends meet. We have a question here that just came in, and it says, can someone talk about procurement? And I think I'm going to toss that one over to Matt.
I don't know that I see that one. What was the question exactly?
Can someone talk about procurement? I'm not real sure what exactly they mean. If they could clarify that or anything, but anytime that I'm talking about procurement, I'm thinking we're talking maybe toward Matt's level, or if any of the other panelists want to hop in on that.
If you're talking about contracting, that's one thing. We do have background in working with people who want to get into government contracting through franchises. It can be difficult, but I'm on the advisory committee for Veteran Business Affairs over at SBA, and that's something we've been trying to work on for franchises. And if you're talking about procurement within a business, this may not be what you're saying, but this is a good opportunity for me to get a point across. With franchises during COVID, one of the greatest things that we saw was that you have increased buying power for procurement because you are in part of a larger franchise system. So, you're more resilient in terms of economic downturns. So that may not be what you're talking about. But if we're talking about PTAC, I'll push that off to somebody else because I don't know quite as much about PTAC.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll open that up. Is that more Keli? Am I going to go to that right spot? I'm kind of on the spot here too. So go ahead, Keli.
Sorry, I was busy in that chat box. I just put the National PTAC website in there, and the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. So absolutely, we do hear this a lot because when we ask, our veterans are transitioning military, what does the government buy? And they know they buy everything. It's a joke, but not a joke. One time a person said they buy our souls, but anyway, just that is a joke, but it was funny. But we talk to them a lot about the Procurement Technical Assistance Center and the services that they offer. And in fact, at our VBOC, we offer every quarter a veteran certification workshop and then also a government contracting workshop. And that is, PTAC offers those services, but the one that we offer with them is very specific to veterans. So the PTACs are the experts in government contracting. They don't help with business plans. They don't help with startup or access to capital. They help with government contracting. So anyone that's interested in learning more about procurement or government contracting should certainly contact one of us. And then again, we do an assessment. Because the thing about government contracting is most of the time, the PTAC even would like you to be in business for at least 2 years. And we know that is primarily to, kind of get your base underneath you, but also about access to capital, because you may get a contract with the government, you're going to get paid eventually, but it could be 30 to 90 days. And a lot of small new startup companies don't have the kind of capital. Certainly their employees aren't going to wait 30 to 90 days to be paid. And they're going to have some capital to purchase to do the job, et cetera. So again, we encourage you to wait. And then the certifications certainly that are available to you as a veteran and as a small business owner can help you with some set-asides that are available. Everything from service disabled veteran-owned businesses to women-owned businesses to trying to think of what some of the others, being located in a hub zone, all those other things. So I encourage everyone to reach out to the PTAC or reach out to one of our organizations to see if it's timely for you. And then we'll certainly make that referral. And they have one-on-one consulting for no cost as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you as well. And then Beth, I'm such a fan of the Rosie Network. I mean, I served with Stephanie on the military, defense, military and veteran affairs committee down there in San Diego, and got to know her quite well. One of the things that's often overlooked is that while we're on active duty, it's all about us. We're bringing in the money, we're bringing in all the benefits, we're doing all this. So I think that really the focus on the spouse, and especially when we're working with, while people are still on active duty, all of these benefits are available to them. We don't have to wait till after transition. So some of the support, the graduates, spouse entrepreneurs that are available even during the program and afterwards. Can you touch on that a little bit, please?
Sure. And I did just want to add, as far as government contracting federal procurement programs, we have just added a module to our curriculum where we will be highlighting just sort of a little bit about how to assess your business, basic requirements, and that sort of thing. So it just sort of highlights, if you don't have any sort of background with it, it doesn't go a deep dive, but we've just recently added that to our curriculum. And as far as the resources for military spouses in particular, there's the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce that started in January of 2021. And we're super excited about it. It has about 700 members currently. And we consider it to be the home of the military spouse business owner. They launched and developed a one-of-a-kind military spouse owned enterprise certification. And this is really important because it legitimizes our businesses and enables us to work with other large corporations. Some of the corporations that have joined the chamber are USAA, Johnson & Johnson, CVS Health, and Disney, just to name a few. And so that's super exciting. The other thing that's great, we keep talking about all these resources, is that the chamber is free. And so again, it comes back to, we want to make sure that we're providing the resources and the support that you need without breaking the bank to do it. And so the advocacy efforts for the chamber also includes working with elected officials to help improve opportunities for spouse-owned businesses. So.
Thank you so much. We had a private question, and I think that this really kind of ties into the fact that nobody has all of the answers out here. And I think that it's really great that we put together such a wide, diverse panel. And this is what we should strive to do when we're there. So it was really how to sort everything out. And I think that, for me, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do, because I was in the insurance industry, I'm a small fish swimming in there with all of the big names, all of the people you see on TV all the time, right? So how am I going to set myself apart? And it was all about credibility, who I am and who I am, and what sets me apart. But realistically, what I've learned is that it's about who you associate with. So whether it's the veteran, whether it's a spouse chamber of commerce, whether it's a networking group, whether it's just a Facebook chat group or whatever you have when you're dealing with other entrepreneurs. So just understanding that. You know, Matt, one question that I have that came in here was that how do we sort out and how do we weed out some of these things and how to tell you? And I think that one of the keys to toss it back to you was the cost. If they're asking you for something before you get something, it's really a red flag for me. But what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I mean, I think that a lot of this information is available either online for free or by contacting someone and using their free kind of consulting services. Even when you're using someone to help you find a franchise, like a franchise broker or a franchise consultant, they're not charging you. All of their services are paid for by a franchise brand when they make the connection. So there are numerous resources available out there. No one should ever be paying for advice or anything. The only things you might be paying for, you know, speaking from the franchise perspective, is once you're way down the road into your franchise process and you're about ready to sign on the dotted line, you may pay for, you know, an attorney to look over the agreements for you or something like that. But anything before that, any of the consultancy, anything like that, especially as a veteran, you can turn to government resources through SBA, SBDC, VBOC, someone who can help you make a business plan. You need not be paying some kind of paid business consultant to help you with these kinds of things. That is why we, you know, the American taxpayer is providing you with resources through the SBA. So please take advantage of them because they are already there for you. So that's what I would say there. And then, you know, I'll say another thing in terms of, you know, I'll say first on the point that we were just talking about with spouses, there is the ability for spouses to get involved in our industry as well. Typically, the franchise will require that the veteran themselves be at least the majority share owner in the franchise brand, but it is something that you can definitely do as a family, as a team. You know, it just kind of comes down to ownership semantics. And then also when it comes to sorting out cost and things like that, there is no cost if you don't end up going with a franchise brand after going through the recruiting process with them. If something doesn't work out, you know, there's no harm done by reaching out to them and exploring your options. And one thing I'll also say is when you're exploring opportunities and you're trying to figure out what you can afford and you're trying to work with consultants and things like that to figure out, when you're looking at a franchise brand, some of them do seem really expensive and they'll tell you upfront that there's a lot of expense. And you don't have to be deterred by franchise brands that are above the kind of funding that you can attain. The reason that all of that is so publicly available and all of those you know, estimates are what they are is because franchises do not want you to get involved and put yourself in an unsafe financial situation where if something were to go wrong, like the last 18 months of this craziness that we've just experienced, if you can't weather that storm or they're not sure that you're going to be able to, it may not be a good idea for you to get involved in that franchise system. So there's franchise brands at every cost opportunity. That's what you can explore. But definitely to the point that Marc just brought up, do not go around paying people for consultant fees or to help you find a business. That's what we're here for. That's what government resources are here for. We found funding ourselves so that you don't have to worry about that. So let us be a service to you and help you with that transition.
Perfect. And I think I'm going to go back and toss it here really quick to Keli. And there's a couple questions. One is, when do you feel is the best time to connect with the VBOC? When you're new in business or after a few years, and see how, you know, what's the, I mean, you're going to say it depends. I know I'm going to fall into that trap.
It depends. Even
Right.
if I've had people at our business plan workshop that have been in successful businesses for 30 years that come to the business plan workshop because they know that they have to continue. And this really was a statement. I'm like, tell the class why you're here after you've been in business successfully for 30 years. And they said, if I don't constantly adapt and change to what's going on in the market, what's going on in the industry, if I did traditional marketing that I did 30 years ago today, I wouldn't be in business. So the best time is now, whether or not you're transitioning, whether or not you're thinking about something. And it's kind of like Matt says, I've had people apologize to me and say, I wasted your time. I went through this business plan. It's not going to work. I'm like, this is not a waste of time. You have saved yourself a lot of time and a lot of money. And I'm happy we were here to help you go through the process. So the best time is now, but I want to reiterate on those mill spouses. I mean, we know all those transferable skills that our veterans have, but let me tell you who is sharp, who is underemployed, and who's a hustler, and it's military connected family members and primarily those mill spouses. We do offer an e-commerce workshop that's focused on mill spouses for just those reasons that Yvette was talking about, is that, they get relocated quite often. And I have never seen a more dynamic group, either in person or in the chat boxes. They practically could teach the workshops half the time. And what's really great about the mill spouses is also that they connect with other members, like you're saying with I think it's great. I did not know that there was a mill spouse chamber of commerce. And I think that's really great because connection really is everything. If we haven't learned that through COVID-19, I don't know what we've learned. But working together, veterans really want to support other veterans. And again, the mill spouses and military connected family members we serve as well. And just a dynamic, sharp group. So back to that, best time is now. Get on it. And, we are here to help you with wherever you are. It depends on where you are in the process.
I should probably take a little snippet of that and kind of apply that to my business when people ask me when the best time is to talk to me. So I could definitely relate. But no, I think it's absolutely awesome because people are so hesitant and to really seek that advice because they do think like, hey, what's the catch? And really, for anybody in this country who put on that uniform or anybody who supported somebody in the uniform, there isn't a catch and there should never be. So I'll throw this back and just say, just give us a little bit. We've got about 5 minutes left. So if I could just have our panelists kind of give us some closing thoughts. I want to personally thank you all for being part of this and really supporting the veterans. And you made it fun. Just what you said, every time you come across someone, I learned something. So I've learned so much myself. So thank you. But Ebeth, could you give us your closing comments, please?
Well, this has been a great opportunity, and wow, what a great group of panelists. So I would say probably one of the last things that for me with the Rosie Network in particular, one of the gifts that keeps on giving is that when you begin the program, you are going to begin working on your pitch. And so by the time that you graduate from the program, you have a pitch deck at the ready so that you can pitch investors or whether you just are looking for someone to collaborate with. And so I think that is one of the biggest gifts that we can give along with the ability to network. And so anyway, it's so good to be here and turn it over back to you.
Thank you. Okay, Matt, your final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say thanks again for everybody. And all of our resources are able to be found on our website, VetFran.org. If you need to get in touch with somebody, there are phone numbers and emails on that website. You can email VetFran at franchise.org. We're here to help, and our industry is deeply focused on giving back to veterans in as many ways as we possibly can. So definitely make use of our services. It's been a real pleasure with you all. I'm chatting today. Again, this is my last week with VetFran, but if you give us a call, someone's going to answer and we'll help you out. So thank you all so much. And if you have any direct questions, my email address is in the chat. I'm happy to help point you in the right direction before the week is out. So thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that. And then finally, Miss Keli.
Well, I was just going to say, again, it's a pleasure to be here today. And it always surprises me because people don't know that all the services are out there. And then we go from not knowing any to knowing, oh my goodness, I don't know where to start. And so again, that's what we can help you navigate through that process. Don't be on an island of one. You're not out there by yourself, but we can help you make that match. And then finally, we're here to serve. I know it sounds, we're the government and all that sort of thing, but it really is true. Our veterans have served us in many, many ways, and we're here to serve. And it's an absolute honor to work with the sector. So, and the mill spouses as well, and military connected family members. So again, thanks for giving the opportunity to share our resources. And I'll turn it back to you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Over in the bottom right-hand corner, if you haven't pulled up the chat window, there's a little icon down there that says allows you to save the chat. So for all of the attendees, please take some time to do that before we close out. There'll be some form follow-up information, and Mike and Hilder will definitely be in contact with all of y'all. So with everything, but yeah, if there's anything that we can do, I mean, that's why people take time to really serve these veterans. So I want to thank again, Ebeth, Matt, and Kelly for taking time today to really educate all of us on this thing. Everybody tells you how to become a new employee. Everybody tells you how to become a manager or anything. Very few resources are out there to talk to us about entrepreneurship. So when that does come and you gravitate toward that, but there's really kind of that hidden network inside of there too. So you all got a piece of that. So thank you again, Mike. I'm going to turn it back over to you, man. Thank you for having me and allowing me to try to do this. So.
And thank you, Mike and Hilder, for putting this together. We really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you all. I don't know if you could tell, I'm over here, bobbleheading like crazy. Just so many of the points that I wanted to get across are just happening. And it just makes me so proud to have such a powerhouse of folks here disseminating such wonderful information. And I just want to finish up on one word, and that is access. All of our panelists here are so accessible. I want to say the thing that has most impressed me through this setting this up and working through Military Affairs Committee has been how accessible they are. So I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, encourage anyone listening to reach out and take advantage of that access and have those conversations, because as we learned today in the panel, it depends. It really depends. But you have just an incredible group of ears here, an incredible group of minds to ultimately be your compass and set you off on the path of entrepreneurship. So help me celebrate such a wonderful group of individuals in such wonderful organizations. Keep it going for Hilder, who helped me organize a lot of this in the back end. She definitely deserves the love. We appreciate you so. If you haven't already, make sure you check out the Impact or the Military Affairs Committee Facebook page for Southwest Riverside County. We're constantly putting a lot of these resources out, because ultimately it's all about access, and it's all about having these tangible resources here locally. So thank you once again to our sponsors. If it wasn't for you all, this wouldn't be possible. And I will see you all at the next Military Affairs Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe out there.